how it looks like. So, what I can
I'm getting a question here on where do they want the athletes for TV and stuff
before we load them on the grid.
before they load them on the actual track. Yeah, so like over there, like past that board. Yeah, so just là-bas, just past all this stuff. You don't.
Ouais. Donc il y a des ribbons en bleu qui sont dans sa face, il y a des de l'autre côté, une case comme ça. Oui, je pense que c'est bon. Ok, merci beaucoup. Ok, bienvenue.
Si quelque chose change, je vais te dire. Voilà.
So, the athletes behind the hockey ball, the end of the grid, we keep them forward, back, right? Once they're all over there, then we can go. So we need to guide them. Yeah, like that's it. Watch the guide down.
Welcome to Whistler Olympic Park for the FIS Junior and U23 Nordic World Ski Championships. What a beautiful day. Once again, it's day 3 of competition here. I'm Steve Scholes, your host. I've got Tim Wintanyu, longtime coach and wax tech here in Canada. So Tim, we had the sprints the last couple days, and now it's the mass start races.
That's correct, Steve. We had 2 days of some awesome sprint racing, and now we're going to the other end of the spectrum. We're going to the longest competition here at this championship, the 20K mass start. It's going to mix things up and make it real exciting.
Oh yeah, definitely going to be a tremendous day of racing. So let's take a look back at the sprints yesterday for the U23 men and women. Yesterday's final for the women, Yasmin Quijera, the #1 qualifier, dominating through the heats, making it into the final. 3 Norwegians also in the final, the Swede Mula Hansen and the Italian Monsorno.
And Steve, not only did she dominate the heats, she led every single heat. Right from the start, she was going for it, and here you can see as she's coming to the top of the course, leading that pack in the final.
She was pushing the pace all the time. You could see she pushed over the top. In the interviews afterwards, she said, I really wanted to set the pace, narrow it down going into the final stages. You see, they all got through Heartbreak Corner okay, but Quijera pushing the pace all the way.
And that just goes to show the form that she's on for these championships, and can't rule her out for tomorrow's race.
That's right, in the mass start. And here is that finishing part, that final corner. Quijera dominating her heats and the final. And Quijera, the world U23 champion, also in there. Fasnes of Norway with the silver, and Foyen with the bronze, also from Norway. And there she is, so happy. She said in an interview afterwards, she wanted a medal, and it really had to be gold, and she delivered, taking home the gold, the 2 Norwegians, silver and bronze. So we're going to look, yeah, there's the results right there. So a dominating performance by Quijera, 2 Norwegians up there. Mula Hansen, the Swede, won the World U23 Championship in the skate sprint last year. She struggled this season, but great to see her in the final, getting 4th in the classic sprint. Monsorno, the Italian champion, in 5th. Gulbrandsen from Norway in 6 in that women's final. Okay, that was a very exciting final, but then we had the men, the U23 men. There is Evensen, Ansgar Evensen, the 3rd fastest qualifier and the fastest qualifier in the final.
And Steve, you know what the interesting thing in his post-race interview is? He said he tried to ski the heats as cheap as possible, meaning saving everything he had right for this attack in that final.
Yeah, a huge attack, looking very relaxed, and then he launched an attack on the 2nd stage of that climb, and just all of a sudden opens 10 meters on the rest of the field. And you can see the Swedes were trying to double pull that section. He pulls ahead going into heartbreak.
Yeah, so comfortable lead now for the rest of the race, you know, as they come up into the final climb, trying to reel them in, and they couldn't capitalize and take it. I mean, here they are coming to the finish. You know, we thought the Swedes were going to come back, but as you can see, when they come around the corner here, Evensen maintain that lead all the way through this finishing straight.
Huge lead going into the finish. Looks over both shoulders to make sure. U23 world champion Ansgar Evensen, then Irsen from Sweden in 2nd, and Emil Danielsson getting a bronze, a medal like his younger brother did in the junior men's race.
There he was just hugging Jonas Vik, who is definitely one of my favorites for tomorrow, so it's great to see him in that final.
And there's Ansgar Evensen taking home a gold medal to Norway. Very, very happy with the result. 2 Swedes there in 2nd and 3rd. Again, Danielsson getting a medal like his younger brother. Jonas Vika, as you mentioned, not normally a sprinter, looking very good for him in the distance races coming up. And then 2 Italians, Alia Barp and Alessandro Chiacchetti. One skier we did miss in the heats was Schoondog, JC Schoonmaker from had a fall in the qualifiers. Okay, now we're going into the whole other end of the spectrum.
Exactly, Steve. Here we go, 20-kilometer mass start. Here's the course. And so as you can see in the course profile, we got 2 climbs early on the race in that first half. Once you get to the top of the course, we will have a camera there at the top of the course. It's a bit of a rolling section as they slowly descend back into that final climb that we saw in the sprint and then back into the stadium. And so the action we're going to be looking for is if anyone's going to break on those climbs early on. They are doing 4 laps of this 5K red course. So yeah, look for those breaks on those climbs, and if the pack can reel them in up over the top of the course.
Okay, so we're going to go down to Tom Stephen, medalist from the 2020 World Junior Championships, for a few comments on the course.
Yeah, hey guys, it's going to be a super long course today, so it's going to be a lot of fun racing. There's some really technical descents that can lead to some tactical moves, and there's also going to be a lot of climbing, which will be fun to see racers just grind away up the hill. I think there will be some breakaways today, but I think those breakaways won't last very long and they'll get sucked up back by the racing pack. Also, from the racing I've done here, there's going to be, I think there'll be a sprint finish at the end because just the way the course is set up, it really favors some sprinters. Even if they aren't the best distance skiers, they can still do really well in this course. So it's going to be really exciting to see those sprints and the battles between first and second. And yeah, it could be a big sprint finish for the end. So yeah, back to you guys.
Okay, so let's take a look at the start list for today, and we can see that is Bila Andreasen on the screen, Tim, one of our favorites.
Yeah, definitely my favorite for today, Andreasen. Looking for a gold medal to match that silver, and here's the start list. And so just for our viewers here, they're ranked based upon their FIS points of the races they've done. So Lisa Eriksson, bib number 1, has the best points from this season. As we go through. So some other people to look for. We talked about Lisa Eriksson. One of the dark horses I have on my list is DeMartin Pinter, bib number 9. We talked to the Italian coaches yesterday. You know, she's stronger in the distance, and she had a great sprint 2 days ago, so watch out for her. Some Canadians to look for, Steve. Allison Mackey showing great form at trials in Prince George last week, and Anna Stewart as well, skiing really strong in the 20K mass start.
Now, Tim, one of the skiers that we want to talk a little bit about is Tosavainen, our winner from the junior women's sprint. Very, very strong performances in all her heats. But what do you think of her chances today? She did great in the sprints, but now we're going to 20K. Do you think she can be a factor?
Yeah, sometimes we see, you know, those sprinters not doing so well in the long distance races, and we don't know much about her being from Europe, but if she can maintain contact with that lead pack, she's definitely shown her form for that final stadium finish, and she could be a favorite today.
And just looking at a couple of the Americans, just to highlight them, Ava Thurston from Mansfield Nordic in Vermont, Dartmouth University skier now. Really strong performances last year at the U18 National Championships in the US. Also Nina Schamberger from Leadville, Colorado, 10,000 feet of elevation. And for the Whistler Olympic Park, we're at about 3,000 feet elevation, so we're coming down. For her, she's coming down quite a bit. She'll be swimming in oxygen here today.
Unlike you, you've been suffering out there coming from Winnipeg.
Yeah, a little lower elevation. So yeah, so that's one of the other Americans to look for. You talked a little bit about the Canadians.
Yeah, just a couple other Canadians out there racing. Alexandra Luxmore from BC here, Revelstoke Nordic, as well as Constant Lapointe from the Yukon.
Yeah, so this is great for some of the Americans, Canadians here. Also another dark horse that I want to mention, we talked about Lisa Eriksson and her strong performances, but also Tova Eriksson from Sweden.
That's right, Steve. She's been nipping at Lisa Eriksson's heels in their trials races in Sweden, so look out for her. If she's on form today, it could be her day as well.
And you can just see on your screen there, not the young woman jumping, but just moving off screen was Mila Grosborg-Haugen Andreasen, definitely one of the favorites. She won all the distance races at the Norwegian Junior Trials, very, very strong in the distance skiing. Okay, we're about to get started with the racing. Welcome everybody to Whistler Olympic Park, site of the 2010 Vancouver Olympic Nordic events. We've got the mass start races coming up, the women's 20-kilometer, Tim. How awesome is that?
Well, first of all, we were talking to one of the TDs, I believe the head TD earlier this morning. He had just skied the course, and he was just saying how amazing the tracks are, how awesome the snow. He says it's like paradise. Coming from Europe, where they've been really struggling with good quality snow, he says it's paradise for the snow, and so that's going to set everything up for some awesome race conditions.
Yeah, that was the technical delegate, the chief race official here, just ecstatic about this course. And they're going to be doing, it's 20 kilometers for both the men and women today. The women kick things off. It's equal distances for the men and women. This is the first Nordic Championships, Tim, with equal distances.
And here we can see just some of the wax techs doing final touch-ups to the skis, making sure, you know, that grip is dialed so that everyone can ski those climbs. We've got some big climbs out there. All right, so looking at the temp there again, having the temperature below zero is going to make that classic track nice and solid. Will be maintained for this whole race as they do 4 laps of that 5K course.
So now looking at the waxing there, Tim, would they be going with a hard wax or a clister wax?
Yeah, so we saw them rubbing a hard wax in that grip zone and corking it in. So it's definitely going to be a hard wax condition out there.
Yeah, and it's going to be fast. I think the tracks are very fast. You can see all the skis. Like, how many skis would that, how many skiers would that cover off?
That could be one skier right there. Some of these skiers are traveling with 20, 30 pairs of skis to these championships. And so a lot of work goes in ahead of time, testing skis, making sure they have the right ski for the right condition, and then they have to worry about applying the right wax for those conditions. And you can see here athletes testing with their coaches, trying different skis out to find the fastest glide and the best grip for today.
Okay, so here's our start list for today. You can see Lisa Eriksson of Sweden kicking things off, number 1. Then Mila Grosborg-Haugen Andreasen, number 2. She is one of the favorites for sure for today. Also in there, Busvin Jensen of Norway, number 3. Tove Eriksson of Sweden, number 4, Siri Vigger of Switzerland, number 5. Then getting into some of our other athletes to note, some of our Canadians and our Americans, Tim.
Yeah, so Canadians to look for, I think, Allison Mackey, dominant at our trials races, dominant all season. Anna Stewart, another Canadian who was really strong in the 20K mass start at trials, hung in there with Allison. The two of them battled it out and pulled ahead from the rest of the Canadian field. Another shout out, dark horse I have on my list is Iris de Martin Pinter from Italy. You know, watch out for her. She had a strong sprint result, but I believe she is a lot stronger in these distance races.
Yeah, and again, some of the Americans, Nina Schamberger from Leadville, Colorado, Ava Thurston from Mansfield Nordic in Vermont. And some of the other names that are going to be interesting to see how they do here are sprint champion from Saturday, Tosavainen from Finland. How is she going to do in this 20K race? She looked so strong in her heats in the sprint races. How is she going to do in a mass start?
Yeah, and so here the athletes are lining up, but you can see they're lining up based upon their bib number. So in the snow, there's going to be little markers. So they're just matching their bib number to where that marker is in the snow. I'm not sure if you can see those little, almost like popsicle sticks with circles on them, has their bib numbers. They all got their position. You know, again, being up front is definitely an advantage. You're just staying out of trouble when you think you have that many racers out on course.
Yeah, and so the format today, it's a 5-kilometer loop. They all race together, and it's 4 laps of 5 kilometers for the junior women. The junior men will race later today. Getting close to the start here.
And there we are, bib number 2, our favorite for today, Steve. Mila Andreasen.
MGA on the start line. Jury just holding him, and there we go. We're underway.
Man, that is always tough, that whole silence before the start of a race. You know, just your nerves are going, everyone's trying to hold still, and they're off here.
So they're gonna start similarly to the sprint. They lead out of the stadium, but instead of turning at Heartbreak Corner, then they go on a downhill, and then they have a big climb.
You can already see the effect of a mass start, that, you know, that whole accordion effect that those skiers later on starting are just getting bunched up, piled up, which is going to play a role as they go around this course, especially further into those descents. And so it's so important to have a good start, be out in the front, stay out of that trouble.
Okay, so leading the pack right now is Tove Eriksson of Sweden. She has some great Swedish trial races just behind number 1, Lisa Eriksson. So 2 Swedes up there. Also up there, you can see the Swiss skier, Siri Vigger. Now, 2020, she had medals as a 16-year-old at the World Junior Nordic Championships. Also won a couple medals at the Youth Olympics that year as well. So going to be interesting to see how number 5 from Switzerland does here today. And already you can see some skiers, Tim, getting
yeah, looks like a broken pole there. There's a pole on the side of the trail. And here in the mass start, really what it's going to come down to is how many skiers are going to stay together in that lead pack. Right now, everyone's pretty close together, but as they continue on the course, especially into those bigger climbs, we'll start to see that spread out and little packs form. And it's so important to be in those packs. You know, there's drafting behind skiers, having other skiers help pace you, and so you want to always try and ski in a pack rather than ski alone out there.
Now, one thing, Tim, just thinking about strategy, where do you want to be positioned in that pack? Like now they're coming into a downhill, and it's a relatively fast downhill. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be at the front? Do you want to be at the back? Where do you want to be roughly?
Being right at the front, if you're, you know, a strong skier and it's early in the race, is completely fine because you're staying out of trouble. There's no one falling in front of you. However, there is some advantage if you're second, third, fourth, that you get a little bit of draft, and it's going to play a bigger role later on in the race, that you get a little more rest out of there to help with recovery.
Okay, now we can see moving to the front, number 2, Mila Grossberghaugen Andreasen, MGA, definitely one of the favorites.
And there's Sammy Smith, I believe, number 14, moving up on the inside, trying to get closer to the front, staying out of that trouble.
Yeah, that's another one of the Americans, and she had a solid sprint competition. She is definitely a strong skier, the Sun Valley skier. She's a soccer player in the summer with the U.S. Women's National Team Youth Training Pool, and in the winter, she is a top cross-country skier and definitely could be a factor in this race. And she's trying to move up, positioning herself as they head on to this long plateau. If you remember the Olympics here, just those scenes of that long plateau as all the skiers stretch out, and then they have that plateau and then a climb just after that.
I think this coming around that corner climb to this plateau and another climb, you're going to see later on laps 2, 3, and 4 that this is where some breaks could happen in this climb if people are feeling really strong and start pushing the pace. You know, you can still see that group up front. It doesn't really look like anyone's really pushing the pace and trying to make a break. It's still really early in the race. You know, they're about a kilometer, approaching the 1.5 kilometer mark in a 20-kilometer race.
And you can see the red suit of Mila Andreasen at the front, pushing up that first real climb. There we go. Yes, with the ponytail there at the front. Look at the technique. I'm really impressed with Andreasen's technique.
And there's my dark horse bib number 9, DeMartin Pinter, right in behind her. So watch out for her as this race continues on.
And you just got a sight of the Andorran skier. The only skier from Andorra, Gina Del Rio. She was sitting 3rd spot. You could see the suit of the Andorran team in there. Now they got a little bit of a downhill, and Andorra sitting 3rd, but Andreasen just opening a little gap on the hill. Looks like she wants to push the pace.
Exactly, yeah, and they're going to be, after this long straight downhill, they are going to have another big climb, and so we're going to see what happens into that big climb. But it's interesting note that, you know, Gina Del Rio, the only athlete here, it is an individual sport. They are racing, you know, individually out there, but how important a team around you helps with results.
Also up there near the front was Eva Ingebrigtsen. This is a first-time World Championship skier from Norway. Tuva Eriksson up there, Marina Kalin from Switzerland, Nadine Laurent from Italy also up there, Lisa Eriksson about 8th spot, Tosa Vainen, our sprint gold medalist, sitting in 9th spot, and Torvinen from Finland sitting in the 10th spot. But you're starting to see a little bit of separation out there on the course. But Andreasen appears her strategy is lead from the front. And again, just to let you know a little bit about Mila Andreasen. So if you went back about a year ago, she wouldn't be necessarily in the discussion, but definitely now based on her performances. So Tim, let's take a little bit of a look again at the course profile, just to remind viewers what this course looks like.
Yeah, and so you can see early on, we got our 2 big climbs. They had just completed that first long climb about at the 500 to 1,000 meter mark in the course, kilometer in. And now they're going to be starting approaching that next climb at the very top of the course. Once they're there, they're going to do a big, long, rolling section. That's where we can see some of these athletes who are maybe falling off the pace on the climb come back in that rolling section. And then any strong downhillers, because it's going to be a bigger descent on that second half of the course, that if someone's really strong at descending, has some really fast skis, can come back to that group and make contact.
And one thing I want to highlight is when they're coming back, descending just around the 4 kilometer point, 4.2 kilometer point, there's that snaking descent that we were skiing earlier in the week, and it's a lot of chicanes back and forth. It definitely snakes through there, and it's going to be very fast, and it's a little more of a challenge on classic skis rather than skate
challenge
skis.
On classic skis, and also a challenge skiing in a group. So if there is a pack, you know, versus a pack of 20, if you're in the first 1, 2, 3 spots, it's definitely a lot safer than if you're 18th, 19th, 20th. As we saw off that start, as that accordion effect happens, people tapping the brake a little bit. And again, watching the 2010 Olympics, seeing them ski that same corner, this is the same course from that 2010 Olympics, we saw a lot of that accordion effect in that same downhill.
Yeah, so that snaking descent is definitely an important feature of this course, and also the finishing straight. You know, a lot of interviews I was reading from the athletes after the sprint saying, you know, that is a long sprint finish in the stadium, a lot of double poling. So that, you know, if you're in the mix and you're a good double poler, you can definitely make a move in that stadium.
And here you can see the athletes again, you know, like earlier on we saw Andreasen having a little gap by a meter or two, but however that pack is all back together here on the climb. And so they're skiing up this climb to the top of the course, and then from here it's going to be a little bit of rolling flats and descending back down to the stadium area.
And you can see on the left of your screen, number 1, that is Lisa Eriksson. She has a silver medal in the mass start at last year's World Championships in Norway. So she's on the outside, number 1. Mila Andreasen, number 2, our favorite here. Then we've got the Italian, Iris and Martin Pinter, who the Italian coaches who we were chatting with in the restaurant yesterday. She is looking really good. She's positioned there. She's not using up any energy to lead. She's just staying on the skis and looks very relaxed. Really like, oh, and we got a skier down. That is Gina Del Rio of Andorra. Not too much.
Yeah, it seemed like, it looks like there's someone's running with poles. We got a broken pole out there. She might have broken a pole or stepped on. Yeah, there's a bit of a pole on course there.
And I see Constance Lapointe, number 50, the Canadian. She's
and Allison Mackey just ahead of her. So they are still hanging on there to that lead pack, which is really important.
Wow, what a race for Constance Lapointe. She's right hanging with that pack. She's from Whitehorse. This is her first ever Junior World Championships. I really like her start here. So she's just hanging on to that pack. She's sitting maybe about 25th spot right now. And then you see a few of the other athletes on this long climb. And where you see at the top of that climb, that's about 2.5 kilometers into the 5-kilometer loop. Okay, so just highlighting some of the other athletes there. 48 from the US, that's Rose Horning, also of Leadville, Colorado. She's with the Ski and Snowboard Club out of Vail is who she trains with. Also in there, 53 from Slovenia, Nika Ljubic.
And Steve, we're watching this climb here. This is going to play an important role in laps 3 and 4. As if I was a skier out front, this is where I want to be making that break, trying to break away from that group. And so we're going to see that later on.
Okay, so yeah, that's the very long climb, and then it's very much downhill after that. There's some smaller climbs. There is that snaking descent. Also in there, 49. That's one of the Lithuanian skiers. And Veronika Bukasova from Slovakia, number 52. Again, you can see, Tim, the coaches running around with the poles, and that's, all around the course. You've got to be ready with a ski or a pole, and we saw that in the U23 men's race in the qualifier, where JC Schoonmaker broke a pole, and it's just like he's got to get a pole, and the U.S. coach tried to throw, a Hail Mary, throw a pole, but just couldn't quite get to him. And then one of the Swiss coaches we saw gave him a pole a little later on.
That's
so
correct.
all these coaches are willing to give a pole to an athlete that needs
definitely
one.
help each other out. Trying to make it as fair as possible. And that's one thing that happens out there, especially the night before. The coaches will discuss trying to figure out where to be on course with those pieces of equipment, whether it's poles or a ski, because you never know where that accident or pole may break out on course. And so you're trying to pick spots of, maybe a high incident, the snaking corner there could be a great spot to have poles set up.
Yeah, and of course, if you're a Canadian ski fan, you may recall at the Turin Olympics in 2006, Becky Scott and Sarah Renner, so I think it was Sarah Renner getting a pole from the German coach, and the Canadian team went on to get a silver medal ahead of the Germans, and really, very sportsmanlike effort. Okay, so here we've got our skiers just descending through the camera, and we can see at the halfway point, it was Andreasen of Norway, Eriksson of Sweden, DeMartin Pinter of Italy, Tim's dark horse here in this race. Looks really good so far. Ingebrigtsen, and then Tossavainen, our sprint winner in 5th. So that is looking very interesting. Can she hold on?
She is still in this mix. We're going to see now, Steve, as they're halfway through the course, they're going to start doing a lot more descending coming back to the stadium. We're going to see who's a strong descender out there, and if there's any flip-flopping in positions. You can see there one ski, one team decided, well, rather than having a coach or wax tech out there, we'll just stick a ski in the snow for anyone who may need a ski that might break a ski out there.
Okay, and there we've got the descent, and they're let's see who. Oh, it's now Ingebrigtsen who's moving to the lead, and you can see on her right in the blue there, number 7 was Tossavainen. Also in there, the Andorran skier, Gino Del Rio. We've got a German skier up there as well. So now we're starting to see a little bit of separation.
Oh, there's Allison Mackey coming.
Allison Mackey sitting about 15th in the top 20, it looks like. You can see now they're heading I believe, Tim, are they heading into the snaking descent?
They are. This is the snaking descent. There's a couple, like a right-hander, a left-hander, and they happen real quick. You got to set up right away as soon as you're out of the corner into that next corner, which makes things a little tricky, especially on classic skis. You don't have that same support in the boot that you do have in a skate boot.
So Allison Mackey for the Canadians sitting 22nd right now, as they're just shortly ending the first of 5 laps. And there's Lisa Eriksson, number 1 of Sweden, setting the pace. And it looks like we've got about, I'm going to say 15 to 20. It's a little spreading out just a little bit. About 15 in that lead pack, and then about
and
another 7 or 8
this will happen as you hit
behind.
climbs and stuff. You know, we talked a lot about the accordion effect. Things will spread out and come back together. No one's really broken away. There's not a massive gap here. You know, right now, any of these athletes can close those gaps that are out there.
So it's interesting, Tim. Right now, the top 3 are the top 3 from the sprint. Right now, we've got Lisa Eriksson, Andreasen, and Tossavainen just leading that pack. Now, what about, you see all the coaches there, Tim. Will these athletes take a feed or sort of something to drink during the race?
This is a long race, and so those coaches are set up there with bottles. They have some kind of sugary electrolyte substance for them to take so they can get some more energy in such a long race.
Okay, so now they're descending into the stadium. So they're almost at the end of the first lap, so you can see in the time, it's going to be around 15
and there
minutes
goes
left.
Allison Mackey through your screen there, so she's still in the mix there. Great position for her.
Okay, so this is that long double pole section. So they're going to lap through the stadium here to complete their first lap. So Andreasen on your left, the silver medalist from the sprints. On your right, the blue suit of the Team Finland, and that is Tossavainen. And this corner, which was very, very important in the sprints, is going to be an important corner when they come to that final lap. Okay, so looking also at some of the other skiers in that group. So we've got number 3, Brusvin Jensen, who we haven't talked a lot about. Brusvin Jensen took a bronze in last year's World Junior Championships in the 15K mass start, which was skate technique. So she's moving to the front. She's a very accomplished skier. She was very close to Andreasen in a number of the Norwegian trials races. So that's number 3, just kind of on the just right behind number 7, which is Tossavainen. Also in there, 27, Anniken Sand. Another first-time Norwegian at a World Junior Championship, so she's moving up. Number 6, Marina Kalin, one of the Swiss skiers. And we can see Sammy Smith, number 14, up there as well.
Yeah, that was good to see North Americans still in that lead pack.
So Sammy Smith, very interesting story with her. She is a top soccer player. Plays soccer in Boise, Idaho, part of the women's national team youth training pool, but also a great cross-country skier. She had a 5th at last year's Junior World Championships in the skate sprint, and she was, I believe, 8th this year in the classic sprint. And she's in the mix, and she's a gritty skier. Like, if she sees the finish line, she has got an amazing acceleration over that last 100 meters.
Bib 41 there, Allison Mackey still in that pack. That's still contact with that lead pack, which is great to see. I saw her lapping through here. She was in 16th place. Awesome race for her so far.
Allison Mackey with Edmonton Nordic, another skier that's just come on really strong the last couple years, and she did really well at the Canadian trial races, and she's actually a past winner of the 13K Canadian Birkie in Edmonton. If you're a Canadian ski fan, you'll know about the Canadian Birkebeiner in Edmonton. So when she was a young skier, she won the 13K there.
And there's Constant LaPointe there. If she can just like close that 1-2 meters and get that group in front of her, it's going to make life a lot easier for her in this next lap.
Yeah, the Yukon Whitehorse skier is having a heck of a race here, but now just a little more separation on this downhill. There you can see Gina Del Rio just...
Which Steve, on those downhills, it's totally fine to have a little separation. Makes things safer. Those athletes don't want to be too bunched up, especially if they're coming into a corner and have to step around it. They'll come back together as we see into the climbs here.
Okay, so we could just see on the left side of your screen, number 4, Tova Eriksson, definitely a skier to watch. You know, we talk a lot about Lisa Eriksson and her top performances, but Tova just behind her in the Swedish junior trials qualification races.
And you can see there, one of the skiers had some tape on their face, Steve. It is cold out there, you know, especially in the shade. And so they're just putting tape on their face to protect them from any type of frostbite or anything like that.
We just see number 17 coming through the camera, Elon Henriksen, and there's 41, Allison Mackey, Canadian from Edmonton Nordic. Oh, interesting. Number 13 from Finland, Elsa Torvinen. She was second at all of the Finnish trial races for the World Juniors. She is falling off the pace, and there's Constance Lapointe from Canada.
Great race for her out there. Again, if she can just put in a little surge to catch that group in front of her and do some drafting off them.
Yeah, Constance Lapointe, I mean, what a race. And you can see number 10, that's Ava Thurston from Mansfield Nordic, originally in Vermont. Now she skis with the Dartmouth University team as a first-year university skier.
And I believe Dartmouth, they have a couple skiers racing today.
Yeah, they have some skiers in the junior men's race. They have some, I think, some skiers in the U23 race. Dartmouth, great program led by Cammie Thompson-Graves. She's, you know, coached and inspired a lot of great young athletes that have gone on to World Championship and Olympic results. But there you can see that is MGA, Mila Grossberg-Haugen Andreasen pushing the pace. Lisa Eriksson in second. Then the Swiss skier, Marina Kalin in third. Wow, you can start to see that lead pack is shattering a little bit there. Some gaps opening up between the top five. Andreasen starting to push the pace on that climb. That's a great angle to see. We're kind of down to about 5 skiers there, but there is that long downhill where they can get arrested.
Exactly. As you can see some of these skiers coming through the screen there on that descent. It is pretty straight. There's not much corners to it, and so they can get some rest. You know, shake out the legs a little bit, get some oxygen back for that next climb.
Okay, so in that front group, Andreasen, Eriksson, Ingebrigtsen, Tosavainen, and Marina Kalin of Switzerland on a very, very strong race here. That's the top 5, but will it come back together on this descent?
And Steve, I'm just looking through results here. You know, even 12th place Gina Del Rio, only 18 seconds back off the lead. You know, that's still within contact coming into the second half of this course.
Now, Marina Kalin, she actually has an older sister racing in the U23 category. And Marina Kalin recently 2 bronze medals at the Swedish National Junior Championships, both in classic and free. So she's a very strong distance skier. So that's a great performance by the Swiss skier, Marina Kalin, to be in the top 5. Now, it's still, you know, we're still at about the 1/3 part of this race, 20K in total, 4 laps of 5K. And Marina Kalin sitting in that front group of 5.
Just take a look at those mountains there, Steve. What a view, what a venue we get to be at for these athletes to race at. It is just another beautiful day out there.
Yeah, just a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere here this week for the Nordic Championships and, of course, the 2010 Vancouver Olympic Nordic events. We're here and possibly a future Olympics here. So right now, just to let you know, we've got 5 skiers and with a small breakaway here on the second of 4 laps. So we see a number of the other skiers on this downhill. They get a little bit of a rest, and then they have the big climb to the top of the course. So Tim, let's take a look back at the start of this race. So there they are lined up. Mila Grossberg-Haugen, Andreasen, number 2, one of the favorites here.
You're right in my shot right now.
So we got 53 skiers.
Yeah, you can just see the front pack. They're out of trouble. You know, right now in the middle, people start skiing on each other's skis, and you start tapping the brakes, and it creates that accordion effect. And we saw a bit of a pile up here, right in that middle of our screen. And so now you're, you know, wasting energy trying to climb around. Hopefully you don't break any poles, break any skis, and it looks like everyone got out safely.
And what was interesting there was to see Constance Lapointe from Canada. She got on the outside as quick as she could, and that allowed her to move up a few spots. Okay, now we've got 6 skiers Now this is a long climb. This is to the top of the course. This is a climb that if Andreasen wants to push the pace, this is the climb to do it. And she is pushing the pace, but right on the tips of her skis, on the tail of her skis, is Lisa Eriksson. What a battle we've got shaping up here. Andreasen versus Eriksson.
And it looks
Norway
like they are pushing that pace a little more than the first lap. They skied a little more relaxed that first lap, and now Andreasen and Eriksson are going for it. They're trying to break away, but you know, all 6 skiers could easily come back together for that second half of this lap.
My read on the body language is Andreasen is pushing good, looking strong, but Lisa Eriksson really trying to hang on. Then we can see number 14. That is Sammy Smith of Idaho.
She's leading that chase pack there, which is awesome, trying to bridge that gap to the leaders.
Now it's interesting, number 3, Brusvin Jensen falling off the pace there in that second pack. Then we've got one of the Italian skiers coming up. That looks like, I believe that might be Nadine Laurent.
No, that's Gina Del Rio from Andorra.
Right, right. And then it's Nadine Laurent just after that.
And we got Allison Mackey there in this third pack, which is, again, great race for her. Good spot to be in. This third pack could come back and catch that chase group.
And then we can see in this fourth group, the Whitehorse Yukon skier, Constance Lapointe, looking really good. Look at her technique. Oh, just a little bit of a slip, but other than that.
Having a slip here and there, that's okay in classic racing. You don't need roller ski grip or perfect grip every stride. A slip here, a slip there, completely normal. Sometimes it's just the snow underneath the grip zone. Sometimes it's where your weight is positioned over top of the ski. And so, yeah, 1, 2 slips, completely fine in classic skiing.
And there was Ava Thurston from the USA, number 10. Also in there, 36, you see the Polish skier. That is Fuyak. Start to see some of our Japanese skiers. You get to see a few more of the countries battling here. There's number 30. That is Hideki Yama from Japan. Number 40, Leonie Besson. She actually was a biathlete, and this is the first year she's focusing on cross-country skiing. Nadia Steiger, number 34 from
And we got
Austria.
Anna Stewart from Thunder Bay, skiing through your screen right now. Currently training in Canmore with the Alberta World Cup Academy.
There we've got 25, Yamamoto from Japan, and there's 42. That is Tabitha Williams, which is an interesting story. She races for Great Britain, but she grew up in Canmore, Alberta.
Yeah, I believe she was living in Canmore up until a couple months ago when she went to Norway for some training camps. And we got BC resident here, Alexandra Luxmore, coming through your screen.
There's Nina Schamberger struggling with the wax, maybe not picking the right skis today. The Leadville athlete, Leadville, Colorado athlete, just not quite the right skis today. Here's 34, Gismondi of Italy, the 18-year-old. This is really great just to see the technique, see the styles. So again, your leader is Andreasen of Norway, pushing the pace on this climb. It was Lisa Eriksson, the only skier that was quite able to hold that pace. There's number 48, Rose Horning, only 16 years of age, also of Leadville. So a very young skier, born in 2006, getting some experience here at a World Junior Championships. That's Ijiniak from Poland. There's 37. Tomachiova of Kazakhstan, one of our Kazakhstan athletes. There's, I believe, 22 countries in this junior women's race represented. There's France Pignot of France. And we've got 40, it's one of the Czechia skiers making her way up the climb. But this is a long climb, and they're moving to the top of the course. And then there's a long descent after that where they can get a bit of a rest. But this is the high point of the course. And just so you understand the elevation here, the altitude, this is about 3,000 feet, maybe about 3,200 feet at the top of the course. So it's not super high elevation. A lot of these athletes would typically be in regions that would be at those elevations. So there's our two leaders on the descent. Eriksson and Andreasen. What a battle between Norway and Sweden here.
They have definitely broken away from that lead pack.
But Marina Kalin, look at this. Could be her best race ever, sitting third spot ahead of Eva Ingebrigtsen. There's our two leaders. I love this battle. Andreasen, a really up-and-coming skier in Norway. Eriksson definitely has the CV of some great results at World Junior Championships. This is a matchup that we were expecting, and there's your next four skiers.
Exactly,
that is the
Steve.
battle for third.
So one thing to keep in mind, Andreasen and Eriksson have to keep pushing that pace, or we'll see those four other skiers come back to them, and they don't want that to happen out there.
So Eriksson, she's just 2 days shy of her 20th birthday. This is her last chance at World Junior Championships. She's won individual silver. She's won individual bronze.
What a great race for Allison Mackey coming through your screen there. It's great to see her up there.
And I can see Sammy Smith up in about 10th spot right now. Just looking at our online results. Yeah, Allison Mackey sitting 14th. Okay, so we've got our athletes into that snaking descent. Lots of chicanes, lots of back and forth, right turns, left turns. And it's always trickier on the classic skis, but there we go. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, she was stomping her ski there, if you noticed. That was Lisa Eriksson. She probably had a little bit of snow sticking to that grip wax. It's going to slow you down, so you want to slap that ski down or try and knock any snow off the grip zone.
So this is interesting, Tim. Andreasen is clearly pushing the pace, and Lisa Eriksson is saying, I'm just going to sit on your skis and let you push the pace. Then
Yeah, I'm going to hang on for this ride.
Kalin from Switzerland, then Tossavainen from Finland, so she's following up the pace, and that's the strategy of Andreasen and Eriksson. We don't want Tossavainen to come down to a sprint with them.
Yeah, especially in this long stadium flat. We saw how dominant Tossavainen was in that sprint race.
And there's Tossavainen, just as you speak of her. She is leading the charge in third spot. We've got a four-way battle for third place, and then you can see there's a third group just behind them. They're completing 2 of 4 laps. They're at the 10K point. There's Tossavainen sitting in third, just making this corner as they lap through.
So these four athletes here battling it out for that bronze medal, and they too have to be careful. If they ease up too much, that next chase group could reel them in and could be a bigger battle for a bronze.
Yeah, Andreasen is like, I gotta push the pace. And just to put this into perspective so you understand this battle. So Andreasen is 17 years of age. She won all 6 of the Norwegian junior trials races, some of them by a very large margin. Similarly, Lisa Eriksson in January won all 3 of the Swedish junior trials races. Now she is just about to turn 20. She has lots of experience at the Junior World Championships. Andreasen, the Norwegian, her first time in a World Junior Championships. And then you can see this third pack, Sammy Smith, the gritty Sammy Smith, the soccer player and cross-country skier in that third pack. So now we're starting the third of 4 laps here.
Just over halfway of this 20-kilometer course. And look how strong those 2 skiers are up front.
So Andreasen from northern Oslo, I believe, definitely from the Oslo area. She's a grade 12 student. Again, if you go back, say 13, 14 months, her name was not anywhere in the mix. But I read an interesting interview. She said, you know, she was doing lots of long, easy skiing, and she's seen this big jump in her performance. And her coach is actually, I can't remember the name, but her coach won the Marcialonga race, which was just yesterday, but she won it in 2020. So
and there you saw Lisa Eriksson just standing up, trying to get some rest. There's no point in trying to pass Andreasen. It looked like Andreasen's like, you need to take the lead. I'm tired of leading. Someone else has got to take over. And so she understands that Eriksson's just skiing right on her heels, getting that ride.
And Eriksson, I think, saying, nope, it's up to you to lead the pace. Eriksson strategically saying, Andreasen, you're one of the strongest skiers here. I'm going to let you lead, and I'm going to try and conserve some energy. And Tim, talk a little bit about what it's like, you know, when you're leading or drafting. You know, it's not quite like cycling where you got a really significant draft, but there is some drafting effect. Plus, in the classic track, doesn't the classic track warm up a little bit if you're
Yeah, so actually you're gliding on a thin film of water out there. Your ski is creating a thin film of water. So if you can be behind someone, there's a little more moisture created in that track, and the glide is actually a little quicker, both when you're climbing up the hills and descending. And so it's always a little faster to be behind someone than out front by yourself.
So what you're seeing going through your screen is that second group, and then the third group, and that is the battle for that third position, that bronze medal, and there's about 10 seconds.
Yeah, and if this third pack, Steve, can work together and reel in that chase group, it will make for an interesting battle for bronze.
Yeah, and you can see our two leaders.
And that's Tova Eriksson there trying to push the pace to catch that, bridge that gap there to that chase pack.
So Andreasen, you can see at the top of your screen, the red is Andreasen. The Swedish skier is Eriksson, Lisa Eriksson. Let's see if there's any sign of weakness here. Andreasen looking good. Eriksson starting to look almost maybe a little more relaxed, getting a little more comfortable sitting there behind Andreasen.
And she's probably just like finding that rhythm behind Andreasen, where she can, like you said, Steve, fully relax. Sometimes it's difficult to ski behind someone that closely. You can't quite ski their same rhythm. It's almost like bike racing where you're pedaling at a different cadence, different gears, and you don't really figure it out. But I believe now after two and a bit laps here, Eriksson's found that rhythm.
Okay, so right now we've got our two leaders. Get a time gap back to our next skier. So they've got, okay, so it's about 27, 28 seconds between that first group and the second group, and then another 8 or 9 seconds between that second group and the third group. So definitely it's shaping up a big battle for first and second between the Swede and the Norwegian, and then quite a few skiers that still have a good possibility at a bronze medal. Tosa Väinen in there, DeMartin Pinter of Italy, Ingebrigtsen of Norway, Anniken Sand of Norway, Sammy Smith of Idaho in the USA. She skis in Sun Valley in the winter, plays soccer in Boise in the summer. And also just talking, looks like Alison Mackey pushing the pace. You can just see at the top of the hill, 41. And look at Constance Lapointe, number 50 on an incredible race here for Team Canada.
Yeah, that is a great race for Constance Lapointe. You know, and maybe that pack that she's in can reel in that third chase group where Alison Mackey is. And just the latest time split there, Alison Mackey in 13th place, which is amazing race for her. I believe it's her first World Juniors, so great to see her up there in the top 15.
Okay, so shortly we're gonna see our leaders come up that really long climb to the top of the course, and I'm very eager to see how Andreasen is setting the pace and how Eriksson is holding that pace.
Yeah, and we've seen that those two skiers slowly pulling away from that chase group.
You can really see the pack strung out here, eh, Tim? Like this is where it's really hurting. You're really trying to hold the pace, trying to keep in control, but trying to go as hard as you can.
Exactly, but you also want to make sure you have someone to ski with out there, because that's going to make things a lot easier than if you're skiing by yourself.
Okay, so again, just seeing this pack spread out. Okay. Okay, so we're just waiting for the top of the course getting some time splits. But again, just to recap, Andreasen of Norway, Eriksson of Sweden out front. Over 30 seconds is the lead now. Kalen of Switzerland, De Martin Pinter of Italy on very strong races here. There we go. Oh, look at this, side by side.
What a great shot.
This is almost like where Eriksson says, yeah, Andreasen, you're pushing the pace, but I can match you. Don't worry, I can match you. And this is a bit of gamemanship. Like, it's strategy. You want to kind of show, like, hey, you've got this long climb, and I'm a factor. Oh, I love this. This is a great Norway-Sweden battle.
What a battle this is going to be between these two.
So this is the long climb to the top of the course. These two skiers have more than 30 seconds on that pack of 4. You can see in the background, side by side, Sweden versus Norway. So they're at about 12.5 kilometers into the 20
that next group coming. It's about 35 seconds to them. So it looks close, but it's actually quite a big gap that group has to close. And I don't know if they're going to actually close it.
Okay, so that group of 4.
And they got about a 15-second lead or so to that next chase group there, Steve. So, yeah, if that chase group can work together and catch this group here, there's going to be a real battle for bronze.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Tossavainen hop out of the track. That's usually a sign that her wax isn't working as good. And look at this, Sammy Smith trying to close that gap. Sammy Smith, the American, trying to get to that second group that is battling for 3rd place, battling for that bronze medal. And Sammy Smith is 13 seconds behind that group. Sammy Smith.
Well, we'll see what can happen on this descent. That second half of the course, the rolling section into the descent back to the stadium. Let's see if she can, bring in her free skiing background and close down that margin.
Yeah, so we talked about Sammy Smith. Not only is she a great cross-country skier and one of the top young soccer players in the U.S., she's also an accomplished free skier, so she has no problem on those descents, so maybe she can use those descents to catch back up. Now we've got our next group, Tim.
Yeah, we got Alison Mackey there up in the front, which is awesome to see, battling it out with those Europeans. Again, this is, I believe, her first international race, so great to see how she stacks up against so many others in the world stage.
Yeah, so Alison Mackey is sitting 13th right now. That group she's in is led by Elisa Gallo in 12th, and then she is sitting in 13th. There we've got Constance Lapointe, number 50. The Yukon skier.
Yeah, only about 20 seconds behind Alison Mackey. So a great race for her.
Then we've got our other skiers. So there we've got one of the Austrian skiers, Engelhardt. Also one of the Japanese skiers. There is number 5, Siri Vigor of Switzerland. Then we've got number 10, that's Ava Thurston of the US. She's also a great cross-country runner. I think she's 4-time state cross-country running champion in Vermont, now with Dartmouth University. Here's Liv Coupa, one of the French skiers. Very accomplished artist, painting, music. She plays guitar, plays piano, so a very, very accomplished artist. There we've got 33 from France. Léonie Perry, another of the French skiers. Léonie Besson, she was a biathlete, just converting to full-time cross-country skiing this year. And there's Anna Stewart, originally from Thunder Bay.
Living in Canmore, Alberta now.
Okay, so we're just getting a note that Nina Schamberger has dropped out of the race. It did look on the screen like she just didn't quite have the right skis or the right wax today. So she's dropped out. She's going to save some energy, I think, for the skate race, the individual skate race coming up later this week. And there is 42, with Great Britain. That's Tabitha Williams. She's
A longtime resident of Canmore, Alberta, but just recently gone over to Europe to race with the Great Britain team.
yeah, she's a dual citizen, and she's part of the Lillehammer, Norway, Great Britain project, and she trained there for 3 months. And I got to chat with Roy Young. Really cool story about Roy Young. You know, he really started the Great Britain ski program. His son, Andrew Young, who's a very accomplished World Cup skier, he was telling me that they, oh, here we go. We'll just cut back to our leaders. They're still together. Andreasen and Eriksson, and they have probably about 35, 40 seconds on the next group of 4.
Yeah, from that last time split, I believe it was 35 seconds to the next group, so we'll see. Oh, and looks like that chase group's closing it in a little bit.
Oh,
29
it's down
seconds.
to 30 seconds on the descent. Very interesting. It looked like they were pulling away, but they are actually the 2 leaders pulling away, but this group of 4 is closing the gap a little bit. This is the 3rd of 4 laps. 3rd of 4 laps, and that's
again,
the battle
that
for
could
3rd.
be, Steve, that, you know, those 4 skiers, there's a couple more for them to work together, that they can get a little more rest and push it on that rolling section descent area versus the top 2, Andreasen and Eriksson.
So leading that chase group is Iris de Martin Pinter of Italy. There is our 3rd group. That is Sammy Smith of the US leading the charge in that 3rd group. They're thinking, can they catch that 2nd group and be in the running for a bronze medal? That is Sammy Smith on the descent. Also, just in the back of that group, Tova Eriksson, number 4 of Sweden. You can see they come out of the one corner, and then they've got to set up for the next. That's that snaking descent. Now, this is the climb just before the stadium.
Climb. Yeah. Oh, and Andreasen taking a feed there, trying to get some more sugars for that last lap. It's super important that they get a feed there going to that last lap.
Now, we didn't quite see if Eriksson got a drink there, but definitely Andreasen.
An interesting point on that last climb, Steve. If these 2 skiers are still together going into this last lap, that is where someone's going to try and make a break. We saw in the 2010 Olympics a lot of skiers trying to break that last climb. That's where it's going to happen if they can stay together in the descent.
Okay, so just to give you a sense of the time gap, so just at that last checkpoint, it was about 30 seconds between these 2 skiers and the next group of 4, and then it was about another 25 seconds back to Sammy Smith. So that 2nd group is catching these 2 and moving ahead of that 3rd group, and that is our 2nd group of 4 skiers in the hunt for 3rd place right now as they descend in the stadium and complete their 3rd of 4 laps. We're going to have only one more 5-kilometer lap to decide the medals here in our mass start. And now, for one of the first times in this race, Lisa Eriksson moving to the front as they start their 4th and final 5K lap here in this 20K mass start for the junior women. Eriksson was it.
And Steve, as they're lapping through the stadium, they're going to get a sense of how close that chase group is to them. And so they're going to be aware of that as they go into this last lap of how hard they have to push in order to maintain this lead.
Yeah, so they get that visual. They see this group. They know where they're at, but it's always tricky when you're in that front group. You're thinking, okay, we got a time gap. Start to think about the finish. You know, do you want to save some energy? Do you want to relax? Who do you want to lead? Do you want to be the second
there's
skier? Relax a bit.
Going through your mind. Do you try break them on a climb? We'll see. Here's Eriksson. Yeah, she looks like she's wanting to lead.
So Eriksson starting to push the pace a little bit. Andreasen sitting there in 2nd just to the side. Okay, so the Martin Pinter of Italy, the Italian coach, saying that was their favorite today. She had some great sprint races, but now she's into her distance races, which is her preference.
And Andreasen just matching the pace here with Eriksson. So this 15 kilometers into a 20-kilometer race, this is where you're going to really start to see that fatigue amongst the racers, and they're going to test each other on these climbs to see who still has it. Can I break away? Is it worth it? They're sticking with me. I'm just going to chill out for a little bit.
Okay, so here we've got Andreasen back in the lead, and you can see that time gap is right around 30 seconds. between those two groups. So it is 32 seconds is the time gap at the end of 3 laps. DeMartin Pinter leading the chase. Marina Kalin sitting second for Switzerland. Tossavainen, second in that group. Tossavainen, third in that group. And there's our 2 leaders. So they're starting their 4th lap. They have a little bit of a descent. Then they've, oh, there's a bit of discussion there. They're trying to discuss how they want to handle this last lap.
Seems like Andreassen's like, you gotta lead, Lisa Eriksson. I've been leading this whole race. You gotta take over and pull for a bit.
Okay, side by side, Eriksson, multiple medals, never an individual gold at the World Junior Championships. Andreassen in her first World Junior Championships, she got a silver.
And here we go, Eriksson stayed in the track, and Andreassen's out of the track. And so a couple of things could be happening there. Is it the wax on the skis? Is it the ski selection? Or is it the fatigue of the athlete? Are they still able to maintain kicking that ski fully and staying in the track? It is going to be faster if they can maintain skiing in the track versus out of the track.
I really like how number 6, the Swiss skier, Marina Kalin, is skiing. Really beautiful skiing. Like, you can see the other skiers are struggling to get the grip, but Kalin looks really good. She is out one ski out of the track, but looking really good here.
Yeah, one thing to look for, Steve, is just the posture of the skier. She is still really good posture in her upper body, whereas as you start to fatigue, you start to get bent over, the shoulders start to round out, and Kalin still has great posture going in to this final lap.
So that's the battle for 3rd right now. About 30 or so seconds. You can see our 2 leaders going to the top of the climb, then that group of 4, and they've started to pull away from that 3rd group. So you've got, Tim, you've got this climb, then they're gonna turn around and they have a nice, long, relaxing descent. Then they have the big climb to the top of the course, and after that, they'll have 2.5 kilometers to go.
Yeah, if it was me out there racing, you know, you'd be playing with each other out there and testing each other, and then going into that big climb, going to the top of the course is where I would try and make a break. Try break away, and then knowing that you got mostly descending back to the stadium. And it looks like Andreassen went for it there, Steve.
Oh, we got
over
a
the top of the climb.
We got an attack.
There's a gap.
Andreassen making a move on Lisa Eriksson. Now they've got the descent, but she's opened 5 or 6 seconds all of a sudden.
Oh, and Eriksson looks tired as she was hunched over in that descent.
Andreassen making a move for a world championship. They still have about 3 kilometers left on the 3.5 kilometers left on this final lap. But Andreassen pushing at the top of that climb. Again, there is that descent that's you're able to relax, able to recover, but it didn't look like Lisa Eriksson had much snap. So Andreassen, a bit of a poker face there, and she makes the attack. Eriksson not able to respond. Oh my goodness.
But what a smart spot to attack. Just at the final pitch of that climb, she just put in a surge, opened up the gap, carrying more speed into that descent, and hopefully she can maintain that momentum into the big climb, getting her to the top of the course.
Oh my goodness, so Andreassen, who definitely came in as a favorite, again, 6 wins in 6 Norwegian junior trials races this season. She was undefeated in Norway. Her only loss this season was to Tossavainen in the sprint on Saturday. Oh my goodness, Andreassen, what an attack there. Can she hold on? It looked really good. When she attacked, you know, you could see Eriksson start to look down at her skis. And that's where you're like, okay, if you're looking down at your skis in attack, you're worried about grip, you're trying to catch your breath.
It just shows a sign of fatigue. You're not able to maintain that posture. Your body is tired, you're just hunched over, and that's what it looked like Eriksson was doing on that descent.
Okay, so Andreassen in her first ever World Junior Championships, a 17-year-old grade 12 student. She's from the Oslo area in Norway. Lots of pressure on her. You know, I hate to put pressure on young athletes because it's just, you know, we've talked about this earlier on the sprint day, Tim. You know, a young athlete, you never know how they're going to progress. It's a long journey from a top junior athlete to a top U23 or a World Cup or a World Championship athlete. There's years and years of development, and it's just this moment. This is the race that they get to perform. They get to compete against the best in the world. And Andreasen really pushing the pace here. 17 years of age. Can she hold on in her first ever World Championship? Now you can see Constance Lapointe just at the top of the hill for the Canadians. Number 50, the Canadian from Whitehorse, Yukon. And there we go. There is our leader, Andreasen of Norway, number 2.
And look at that gap she has on Eriksson. You don't even see Eriksson in the screen at this point.
Yeah, she's gone for it. I think this is it. This is the move. This is a move for a gold medal, but there is Eriksson. It's a little bit deceiving. This is a long climb. There's a false flat and a long climb. This is Andreasen trying to push the pace, and she wants some room going into that long descent and then the snaking descent before the finish.
She can maintain this gap up over the top of the course. It's going to be real tough for Eriksson to reel her back in on the descent.
So she's got 17 seconds here on Eriksson, doing a bit of herringbone technique over the top of the climb, but this is the top of the course that she's coming to. She's got 17 seconds, and you know that group behind is Ein Eriksson.
Yeah, they have eyes on her now. They're going to be pushing hard, working together to try reel her in. Maybe there's a chance for a silver medal in that group.
They're only 30 seconds behind Eriksson. Eriksson
just look at her shoulders hunched over. She's constantly looking down at her skis. One of the signs that body is tired.
And Andreasen looks phenomenal on that climb. You can see the Norwegian coach running alongside, encouraging her, and she wants to push over the top of that climb because she's going to get a bit of recovery. And you can see Andreasen now 17.6 seconds ahead.
And that's 17 seconds, Steve.
And now some separation there in that group.
That 17 seconds happened in a matter of about a kilometer. So you can just see what kind of surge Andreasen put in.
Now Kaelin pushing the pace here, trying to push the pace on Tossavainen and to Martin Pinter, and Ingebrigtsen falling off the pace. The Norwegian just falling off the pace, but not too much. She might be able to get back into
and my
that
dark
pack.
horse, Martin Pinter, is still in that group, fighting it out for a bronze medal.
That's the battle for bronze. Now this is the third group. You can see Sammy Smith, the American, leading that group. So they are sitting about 50 seconds behind the second group. In there also Brusvin Jensen, Elin Naslund, Tova Eriksson, and Anniken Sand. That group is about 50 seconds behind the second group. That gap is definitely widening. They look like they were catching that second group, but I think Kaelin is driving the pace there and pulling them ahead of that third group.
We saw Sammy Smith there staying the track the whole way up that climb. She looks like she's still feeling real strong to kick those skis. Her skis are good, and we saw in the last lap, the descent, she was able to be in the front of the pack on the descent. So hopefully her skis are gliding well and she can lead that pack all the way to the finish.
And there we can see on our screen 41, Allison Mackey, the Canadian from Edmonton.
What a great race for her today.
Okay, so I think it's potential we might see a few skiers being lapped on this lap with the pace that Andreasen is setting on this final lap. So if you're just joining us, this is the final lap of the Junior Women's 20K.
And it's just so exciting. We can hear those coaches on the side of the trail just yelling, screaming at their athletes, telling them to give it their all on this final big climb here.
So Allison Mackey of Canada sitting in 15th. Some of the other names, Nadine Laurent in 14th from Italy. A good result here for Poland. Skurat sitting in 13th. Kukanleto of Finland in 12th. And then Annika Sand sitting in 11th. She's just at the back of that third group. But look at this, Tim. Sitting in 20th spot right now. The Whitehorse workhorse, Constance Lapointe.
20th place. What a race. Can she stay ahead of the Swede there and get a top 20 result
Her first
today?
ever World Championships, the White Horse Workhorse, right in there. She is going to be ecstatic about this result, but she's still got, there's about 2.5 kilometers from the top of the course to the finish. So again, if you're just joining us, we're in the final lap of the Junior Women's 20K mass start.
About 2.5 kilometers to go for these skiers coming through your screen.
It is MGA, Mila Grossberghaugen, Andreasen out front, attacking on this final lap, dropping Lisa Eriksson of Sweden, Eriksson in second, and then a group of 3 or 4 battling for that bronze medal. So we can see with a kilometer to go, Andreasen out front.
Yeah, we'll see how big of a lead she has. Here she is in your screen. And where is Lisa Eriksson? Is Lisa Eriksson able to stay ahead of that chase pack?
So the Oslo skier out front in her first ever World Junior Championships. What a gap she has. She's heading into the snaking descent, just getting some oxygen.
Just has to stay on her feet at this point, and a gold medal will be hers.
And there's Lisa Eriksson, 21 seconds down. So then they have that snaking descent. There's one more climb towards the top, just looking down on the stadium, and then the descent in the stadium. And there we've got 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So it's 3 skiers together. DeMartin Pinter, Kaylin of Switzerland, and then Tossavainen in 5th. Tossavainen, the gold medalist in the sprint, and she is leading that group of 3 now.
It's going to be a battle for that bronze as they come into that final kilometer.
So this is our junior women's race there. That looks like that's number 8, just trying to close the gap, still thinking maybe about a bronze medal. You never know on this descent. Now the Italian moving into the front, but this is the final climb before the descent into the stadium. Andreasen of Norway out front by over 20 seconds. A grade 12 student in Oslo, looking for her first ever gold medal in her first ever World Junior Championship. She's got a silver medal from the sprint. She's now descending to the stadium that was used for the Vancouver 2010 Olympic Nordic events.
Oh, and she just hit a feed bottle there.
Oh my goodness, but she stays upright.
Yeah, that could cause some trouble for some other athletes.
The descent into the stadium. The final couple hundred meters. How does it feel for her? Lisa Eriksson taking a break. She knows she can't catch Andreasen.
And I believe Lisa Eriksson has a healthy enough lead for that silver medal.
So Andreasen, Norway's hope here at these championships. She said her goal was to bring home a medal. She did that in the sprint with a silver, but she's gonna bring home another medal as she celebrates there. She looks over her shoulder. She knows she's got it. The final 100 meters here for Andreasen of Norway. MGA Mila Grossberghaugen. Andreasen charging.
Oh, someone's got a flag for her.
Grabbing a Norwegian flag. She's got to work on that. But there we go. Junior World Champion Mila Grossberghaugen. Andreasen overcome with emotion. What a race. She has done it. Unreal. And it's, oh, look at the celebration. And Lisa Eriksson from Sweden, a silver medal. She battled.
Steve, we can't forget about 3rd place here. Here is that battle for the bronze medal.
The sprint for 3rd, Tossavainen is going to take a bronze medal ahead of DeMartin Pinter. Tossavainen with the bronze, DeMartin Pinter in 4th, and Marina Kaylin of Switzerland with an incredible race in 5th. That is your silver medalist, Lisa Eriksson. Tried to hang with Andreasen. Look how close it got.
But Steve, look at those times. The bronze medalist, Tosavan, was coming back on Lisa Eriksson. Had that been another 3-4 kilometers, they might have been able to reel in Lisa Eriksson for that silver medal.
So Eva Ingebrigtsen just coming in for Norway. There is Andreasen. She was overcome with emotion, and she gets a hug from her teammate Ingebrigtsen. And now the sprint here for some of the top 10 positions.
Sammy Smith is still in the mix there.
So Elin Naslund, and look at this on the outside. Sammy Smith with a massive acceleration to try and get a top 10 finish here. Trying to overtake Naslund. Look at this, Sammy Smith, the Energizer Bunny. Is she got enough real estate to do it? She's gonna move up. It might be a top 10. What a lunge there for the Sun Valley skier. Some great battles. Oh, Andreasen. A world junior champion 13 months ago. She could not have imagined anything like that.
And here comes Allison Mackey, top Canadian. What a race for her. She's double pulling it to the finish.
So Sammy Smith, right now, it says a tie for 8th, so she is going to have a top 10 finish here.
Allison Mackey in 13th. Wow.
That is a phenomenal race by the Edmonton Nordic athlete, who will have another World Junior Championship opportunity after this year.
Exactly.
She also has the skate race. There we have the Andorran athlete, Gina Del Rio, and the Italian athlete, Elisa Gallo. And we're also going to see, hopefully, the finish of Constance Lapointe, the other Canadian that we were watching. Here is 32, one of the Estonian skiers, Rodendau. 22 countries represented this race. And look at this, Tim. Oh, I thought maybe a broken, something, not sure if she's hurt her arm in a fall. That's 28.
Yeah,
that is Ramona Schopfer of
It looks like the pole is intact, so I don't know if she had a fall out there and hurt her shoulder.
That's what it looks like. And there's the Estonian just finishing up. So Schopfer looks like she's going to finish, I believe, an 18th spot here. And there is Constance Lapointe, the Whitehorse workhorse, looking at a potential top 20. Number 17, Elin Henriksen, in her first World Championship for Sweden. Constance Lapointe, what a race, Tim.
Wow.
She has got to be happy with that. That is far exceeding her expectations.
She's going to be celebrating tonight. The workhorse from Whitehorse.
And we know we got lots of folks watching from Whitehorse. It is a great ski community. They are going to be very, very pleased with that. Torvinen, wow, Constance Lapointe ahead of Torvinen. My goodness, there's 24, Doringer of Germany. And we've got one of our top Japanese athletes, Yamazaki, just coming into the finish. She's gonna have a top 25 finish. Then we've got a sprint here for a few more places in a top 30. Liv Coupa pushing the pace there with Fuyak. Also coming in, number 10, Ava Thurston, Dartmouth University team. Here we have Siri Vigor on the left side of your screen from Switzerland. Number 40, that is Leonie Besson, biathlete, switching
Steve,
across.
you mentioned the University of Dartmouth skier. It's so great to see so many of these skiers going to university on the NCAA circuit, skiing at a high level and also getting an education at the same time.
And there is our World Junior Champion, MGA, Mila Rosberg-Haugen Andreasen, just celebrating the moment. You know, no projecting what they're going to do in the future, just an incredible race, strategically pushing the pace, dropping the sprinters, and then that incredible attack just surprised everyone on that not the biggest climb, the second biggest climb. She just accelerated, and Eriksson not able to respond.
Bottom of that climb, it looked like Eriksson was still strong and was going to go for it.
And here we've got Anna Stewart coming in for Canada.
Yeah, Anna Stewart, originally from Thunder Bay, Ontario, currently skiing out of Canmore. What a great finish for her.
Another Japanese athlete coming in, 25, Yamamoto. The swimmers, we've got number 38, one of the Finnish skiers, Pia Eltonen, in her first ever international competition.
Tabitha Williams, Great Britain skier, dual citizen, resided in Canmore, and just recently moved to Europe to train with the Great Britain team.
Yeah, and as I was mentioning earlier, Roy Young, head of the Great Britain team as far as the founder of it, talking about the great program they have in Norway that Tabitha Williams took advantage of earlier in the season. There's one of the Slovenian athletes, Medja. Of course, Slovenia hosting the Senior World Championships later this year, and Slovenia hosting next year's World Junior Championships. There we've got Lisa Eriksson just looking at things, and I think maybe potentially even doing an interview.
Yeah, it looks like she's doing an interview.
Or talking to one of the coaches. But a great race by Lisa Eriksson. You know, she knew that she had to watch Andreasen. She went with that move.
Yeah, and she knew she had to stick on Andreasen's skis, and she did that for as long as she could. That was about 17 and a half kilometers that she stuck on Andreasen's skis.
So Lisa Eriksson, a silver medal here in Whistler. But you can just see the effort, like just the extraordinary effort required on a 20K mass start.
Interesting point there, Steve. All three medalists from the sprint day medaled again today in the distance race. And here we have BC resident Alexandra Luxmore, based out of Revelstoke Nordic, coming into the finish.
Yeah, from this very province that we're showing you here at Whistler Olympic Park in British Columbia. Great to be racing a World Junior Championships in her home province, and also racing on the trails of the Vancouver 2010 Olympic Nordic events. But that's great, that point you made. The same medalists from the sprint were the medalists in the distance race, the other end of the spectrum, but the order was different.
That just shows how good these skiers are at every discipline. They are all-around skiers. Sprinting, distance, doesn't matter what you throw at them, they're ready to perform, ready to be on the podium.
Here's 34, Gismondi of Italy coming in, and also 48, the 16-year-old Rose Horning from Leadville, Colorado, in her first ever World Junior Championship. Then we've got Tomachiova from Kazakhstan just coming in. But you know, Andreasen, if we go back, there is Andreasen. And remember in the sprint, they showed the sprint, the final, and she just had a big smile on her face. She's just enjoying the moment. You know, you're grade 12 student, all of a sudden you have this great improvement in your fitness. You're training a bit more, you're training a little smarter. All of a sudden, she's a junior world champion, but I think she's got the right attitude. She's got that smile. She's got that Jessie Diggins, you know, fun style, keeping a smile on her face, rolling with whatever comes her way, and celebrating a junior world championship on these incredible courses in Vancouver, or from the Vancouver 2010 Olympics here at Whistler Olympic Park.
I think too, Steve, we've talked so much about these junior skiers not having a chance to actually ski against each other on the world stage. And so part of it, I think she's just so pumped and excited to be medaling. She does not know where she stacks up against those other skiers.
I believe this is MGA's first competition outside of Norway as far as a major competition. And it's a World Junior Championship, and we've been talking about the beauty of the World Junior Championship where, yeah, each country selects their best athletes, but then they bring them together in peak form and see how they compare, and that's Ijiniuk from Poland.
Yes, Steve. Andreessen's been so dominant in Norway, and it's only now she's seeing how dominant she is on the world stage.
Exactly. So there's the Polish skier coming in. 22 countries represented here. Again, we'll have coming up later today, the World Junior Championship 20K mass start for the junior men. And they're racing the same distance. This is, as we mentioned earlier in the show,
same distance, same
first
course.
ever championship where the men and the women race the same distance. It's really cool, and it actually makes it quite a bit easier for organizing a race. You don't have to have multiple courses, multiple distances. So it's a great aspect of what FIS has done. And here's Vranova of Czechia just coming in. And there we see our medalists, Andreasen, Eriksson, Tosavainen, different order from the sprints. They get ready for the medal ceremony. Oh, I love that attack by Andreasen. Like, she was kind of chatting with Eriksson and, you know, and then just waiting to the top of the climb. And that's what I like, because as you're getting to the top of the climb, maybe she even sensed Eriksson was breathing really hard. Often in skiing, you kind of get that sense that the physiology is changing and the breathing becomes a little harder. And she maybe sensed, now's my time. I want to go. I don't want to wait till the long climb. There I can kind of hold my distance. I'm going to try and test Eriksson at the top of that earlier climb, and it worked.
Yeah, and we saw them skiing side by side for a lot of it. So even when you're skiing side by side, you can, like you said, Steve, you can see maybe their breathing is becoming a little more labored. You can just look at their body language, how they're doing, and gauge that of when to actually attack.
Okay, so we've got a Lithuanian athlete coming in, and here's a Latvian athlete just there. But that is Ljubic of Slovenia. And we've got the Lithuanian athlete coming in. And just behind them, the Latvian athlete, Krampa. Just coming around the corner there at the top of your screen. So there's Krampa from Latvia coming in. Again, 22 countries in this World Junior Championship, 20K mass start. And the junior women will have the skate interval start coming up later in the week on Thursday, and then there'll be the mixed relays on Saturday for the junior women.
Still a lot of great racing ahead of us, Steve. This is only day 3 of these championships, and not only do we have the Nordic events, but we got Nordic Combined and ski jumping all ready to take place later this week.
And just looking out at the mountains, just this beautiful area, you know, these majestic mountains looking down on this great racing. Lily Murnane from the Australian team. She's a student at Montana State University. So again, number of university students, you know, and it works well if you're an American university student or a Canadian university student. When you've got in North American championships, it's much more manageable to make it to these kinds of events.
Yeah, you're not
heading to Europe.
Not dealing with jet lag, things like that, flying, you know, weeks in advance to deal with that time adjustment.
So Lily Murnane coming in, completing the 20K mass start. So you can see Andreasen was our winner, gold medal. Magnificent Mila. There's the Olympic rings. So many great memories from the Vancouver 2010 Olympics, and so many great memories, Tim, being produced so far in the first 3 days of competition, the first 2.5 days of competition at these Junior World Championships. We still have the junior men coming up later today, but just a wonderful venue. And let's talk a little bit about the organization and the volunteers. So many volunteers go into an event like this. Just do so much work putting on a great event.
Oh yes, Steve. So I've talked with Jake Weaver. You know, he's the chief of competition. He's actually getting some sleep at night, which is great. I thought maybe he'd be up all night trying to deal with logistics, answering questions, but no, he is able to get some sleep at night, and things have been running so smooth. He's been working months in advance leading up to this championship, and it's great to see everything just come together for an amazing championship. So, you know, we've gotten a lot of viewers from around the world mentioning just how great these championships are and that they should have World Juniors here every year.
Yeah, we'll see about that, but it's a great compliment of the organization here putting on this event, and the great broadcast team bringing these images to the world. So many people tuning in. And it works great. You know, what's also nice about Whistler is people in North America can watch this in the morning or the afternoon, and people in Scandinavia, it's the evening. So 3 Scandinavians, one, you know, first, second, and third, people can tune in the evening, come home from work, turn on your computer, turn on your live stream, turn on your TV, and watch some very exciting racing. And we will have the award ceremony coming up later, and also the junior men, which will be starting in a little over an hour's time. The junior men will be starting their 20K mass start. And again, later in the week, on Thursday, we'll have the skate interval start races. And then on Saturday for the juniors, it'll be the mixed relay. And tomorrow, it'll be the U23 men and women racing the 20K mass start. So we have another, I believe, Lithuanian athlete coming in.
A little bit tired today, so Mila was very strong today, and not so good today.
But does it still feel good to come away with second place?
What's the medal?
Does it feel good to come home second?
Yeah, it's very good. It's a good place, but I want more.
Well, congratulations. There's still more racing to come.
Thank you.
So this looks like Da'in Iti. Da'in Ite, I believe, is the pronunciation for this Lithuanian skier. So one of the 22 countries represented here in this particular race. Over, I think it's 38 or 39 countries across all the events, cross country, ski jumping, and Nordic combined. Great to bring the world to Whistler Olympic Park for these events. Okay, and here comes Slovakian's Bukosova making that final turn. You can see also in the background with some of the other shots, you could see some of the men warming up. They're getting ready because they're going to be racing in just over an hour's time, about an hour and 10 minutes approximately. The junior man will be racing. So there's Bukasova from Slovakia finishing up her race. Okay, so just to recap our standings. Andreasen, your world junior champion, pulling ahead of Eriksson from Sweden, who took the silver medal. Tosavainen in third with the bronze. The Martin Pinter, the top Italian. We talked to the coaches last night at supper, and they said that is our skier for the distance races. Kalen from Switzerland, a very strong race.
They have to be happy with that result, the fourth place World Juniors.
Yeah, and Kalen from Switzerland, I think that was probably one of her best races ever. And talk a little bit about the Canadians.
Allison Mackey out of Edmonton Nordic, 13th place, her first World Juniors. She can qualify next year for World Juniors. What a great experience to get a good result like that.
And 21st, the White Horse workhorse from Yukon, Constance Lapointe. Unbelievable, like way exceeded her expectations. I mean, you're looking at some of the names that she beat. I mean, that was an epic race for the White Horse workhorse. Get some of the other names. Ava Thurston, one of the American skiers from Dartmouth University in there. Siri Vigor, the Swiss athlete in 30th spot. Anna Stewart from Canada, 34th. Tabitha Williams from Great Britain. Lives in Canmore, Alberta here in Canada. Alexandra Luxmore from British Columbia, racing in her home province.
Yes.
At a World Juniors. Rose Horning in there, another American from Leadville, Colorado. And Nina Schamberger, we saw earlier, not quite the right skis today, and looking like she decided to save some energy for the skate interval start coming up on Thursday for the junior women. So Tim, just talking a little bit about this area. I know you're a BC resident, and I've been many times in the Whistler and Squamish area. I mean, not only winter sports, but summer sports, but just in the winter. Talk about people that are tuning in from around the world, around North America, around the globe. What do you expect if you're coming to Whistler in the wintertime, downhill, cross-country, backcountry?
Wow, Whistler Blackcomb, one of the biggest ski resorts in North America. I believe I saw some kind of ad where Whistler Blackcomb just got voted as the #1 ski destination in the world. And so amazing downhill skiing, amazing backcountry skiing, as you can see all those shots of the mountains, how much snow they get. And typically a lot warmer here than, you know, more interior BC. So yeah, we got downhill skiing, cross-country skiing here in Whistler. We even mentioned Whistler Olympic Park has snowshoe trails as well to get out. There's snowmobile tours. One of the sponsors, Blackcomb Snowmobile, which is in the Callahan Valley. We've driven by one of their staging areas on the drive up each morning to Whistler Olympic Park.
Yeah, so just a beautiful area here. And we're gonna just take a look at some of the action today, but just a wonderful spot for winter sport.
Volunteers, just how much work they put in. They're here at like 6 a.m. every day, setting up courses.
Things got going really early today. The volunteers, and there is a fan cheering on MGA, Mila Grosberg, Haugen Andreasen, and she took those cheers to heart. A little bit of congestion. It's a mass
right off the start, but you can see those athletes who are on the outside were able to just go around, stay out of that trouble.
And there's Andreasen pushing the pace right from the start. Then it was down to 2. Norway and Sweden, there was a chase group of 4 looking for a bronze medal. Sammy Smith leading the charge in the 3rd group. Then Andreasen pulling away on the big climb, opening a gap. Andreasen and Eriksson descending into the stadium. Andreasen, junior world champion. Emotions at the finish. And we will be back with awards.
tall guy. He usually has a green jacket on. He's
Your attention please, your attention please. Top 6 junior women to podium immediately please. Top 6 junior women to podium immediately please. Top 6 femmes juniors au podium immédiatement s'il vous plaît. Top 6 femmes juniors au podium, merci.
okay.
So he'll be on that side of the stage.
Okay.
So they'll come in, they'll have to touch the mic or whoever, then they introduce Miko, who I'm going to get a tight shot of, the FIS rep, then they introduce presenting the medals and gifts will be blah 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 norm.
Okay.
That's when they want you to give a shot of him.
Okay.
Where he's standing perfect, okay?
What was Ryan Kenny comes up to me, he's like, Jeremy, can I talk to you over here, please? And I used to make out with you and slap him. What? I don't understand this guy, man. I don't understand, right? Yeah. Couple 10 times.
Junior women podium members to the podium immediately please. Junior women podium members to podium ceremonies immediately. Thank you. Junior femmes pour les cérémonies immédiatement s'il vous plaît au podium. Merci.
All right, everyone, we're going to go down to our awards ceremony here at Whistler Olympic Park, and we're going to turn it over to PA announcer Randy for the awards ceremony.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Whistler Olympic Park and to the FIS Nordic Junior U23 World Ski Championships for the awards ceremony of the cross-country Junior Mass Start Classic 20K Women.
Bonjour et bienvenue au Parc olympique de Whistler pour les championnats du monde junior U23 FIS de ski nordique pour la cérémonie des vainqueurs du ski de fond junior départ de masse 20 km chez les femmes.
The medals will be presented by
Les médailles seront remises par
Nicholas Carlson, Deputy Secretary, FIS, accompanied by
accompagné par
Norman Laube, Chair, Black Tusk Nordic Events Society. In sixth place, representing Norway,
en 6e place représentant la Norvège,
Eva Ingebrigtsen. In fifth place, representing Switzerland,
en 5e place représentant la Suisse,
Marina Kelin. In fourth place, representing Italy,
en 4e place représentant l'Italie,
Iris Di Martin Pinter. The bronze medalist representing Finland,
la médaille de bronze représentant la Finlande,
Ei Inkeri Tossavainen. The silver medalist representing Sweden,
la médaille d'argent représentant la Suède,
Lisa Eriksson. The FIS gold medalist and 2023 FIS Junior World Champion for cross country, representing Norway,
votre médaillé d'or et championne du monde 2023 représentant la Norvège,
Mila Gåsberghagen Andreasson. The gifts will be presented by
les cadeaux seront présentés par
Ted Khalil, Chair, Nordic Canada. And now, in honor of our world champion, let's hear the national anthem of Norway.
Et maintenant, en l'honneur de notre championne du monde, l'hymne national de la Norvège.
One more time, your applause for our winners.
De nouveau, vos applaudissements pour nos gagnantes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this ends our award ceremony of the FIS Nordic Junior U23 World Ski Championships here in Whistler, British Columbia. Stay with us as our day of competition continues in a little while. 12:45, the start of the Junior Men's Mass Start 20K Classic event.
Alors voilà ce qui conclut donc les cérémonies protocolaires de ces championnats du monde junior et U23 FIS de ski nordique. La cérémonie donc des vainqueurs pour le ski de fond junior.
Well, that was a great awards ceremony highlighting an incredible competition. 5 countries, Tim, in the top 6.
Yes, Steve, and 4 of the top 6 from today's race were in the sprint final. It just goes to show you how strong those skiers are.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see. And this is some highlights from the race today. Some congestion early on. Then the Swedes and the Norwegians started to come to the front. Andreasen making sure she stayed near the front. Then starting to push the pace. You can see Tosavainen was sitting in 3rd there, and the 2 leaders wanted to push the pace to get away from that sprint gold medalist. Eriksson from Sweden, Andreasen from Norway.
And here we see Andreasen finally break Eriksson and ski to that gold medal.
And there is Andreasen, emotion at the finish. Her first major world event, and she gets the gold medal. Eriksson in 2nd for Sweden, taking the silver medal.
And Eriksson has a silver medal in this 20K. Bronze from the sprint. Watch for her in the skate race. She's going to be hungry for gold.
Andreasen just trying to digest what just happened. There's your top 3, all from the Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. What a great physical and tactical battle that was. So those are the standings. You can see in that top 5 different countries.
Yeah, and those top 4 women were in that sprint final.
And of course, Iris de Martin Pinter was the Italian hope, and she got a 4th place finish. Very solid result. Some of the Canadians.
Great race by Alison Mackey, 13th, her first World Juniors, and she'll probably make next year's World Junior team as well.
21st, the White Horse Workhorse.
Yeah, great race by Constance Lapointe. Yeah, it's great to see those Canadians skiing so strong today.
Also Anna Stewart, originally from Thunder Bay, and Alexandra Luxmore in her home province racing the World Championships. 20K the women took on, and it was a great battle out there. Again, physical and tactical, with MGA Mila Grossberg-Haugen Andreasen taking the win. So we're gonna have our men's race coming up shortly. It's going to be about 40 minutes, just under 40 minutes time to our men's race, but what a beautiful setting for World Junior Championships. Just the Whistler Olympic Park, the mountains surrounding.
Yeah, and those men are going to be doing the same course, 4 times 5K. Look forward to that.
So the men's 20K mass start again, just under 40 minutes for that coming up. We'll show you all the coverage of that event. A great day here at Whistler Olympic Park. And it was an early start here. The fans were cheering. A huge field for the mass start 20K. Great tracks out there. Andreasen and Eriksson pushing the pace. Then it was down to 2. The chase groups were chasing hard, trying to get that bronze medal position, but Eriksson and Andreasen pushing the pace. Andreasen pulling away. Descending into the stadium there. Eriksson just off the pace. And this morning, it was magnificent Mila in the majestic mountains of Whistler Olympic Park to take a Junior World Championship. What a day. We'll see you for the junior men shortly.